Welcome to Negotiating Happiness, the show that helps you find happiness, success, and balance in your work and life. I'm Adriana, your host for this journey into entrepreneurship and personal growth. We're broadcasting live on 107.7 and 105.3 FM in New Orleans as part of the United Public Radio Network. We explore the latest strategies, insights, and stories from successful entrepreneurs and experts. From managing stress to building a thriving business, we've got you covered. Good afternoon, everybody. This is Adriana, your host for Negotiating Happiness, and we are broadcasting live on the United Public Radio Network and UFO Paranormal Radio Network at 105.3 and 107.7 FM in New Orleans. And if you just want to kick back, watch some of our shows, go on to Roku TV and look for UFO Paranormal, and you'll find us there. You know the drill, guys. Grab your coffee, grab your lunch, and join us. Today, we've got the lovely Vania from Transportation Specialists. Hello.
Hi.
How are you?
I am good. How you doing? It's Monday.
I'm good, thank you. I know. Happy Monday. So in this episode, we're going to be chatting about beating the odds in the trucking industry, success, failure, parenting, and everything in between. I have no doubt that we're going to be able to talk for hours if you let us. So here we go. So this is Vania. She is the forward-thinking founder and of Transportation Transport Specialist. Wow, I can't speak today, guys. She is a transportation consultant specialist, and she's had this company for over 5 years, but she comes in with a wealth of 17 years in the industry. Vania guides clients as a safety and compliance solutions provider, ensuring they thrive in the ever-evolving trucking landscape in North America. Based in Ontario, Canada, she adeptly manages a bustling household with 3 kids while leading her successful business. A Sheridan College alumna, Vania also takes an active role in the business community. So I hope you all tune in. If you don't get a chance to, or you have to cut out halfway through, just remember that we're streaming live everywhere as well, and you can access our archives. You can even listen in your car on SoundCloud. So here we go. How are you?
I'm good. Busy morning, which is typical, but so today I had to bring the cat in for a follow-up. So we had that accident with the cat, unfortunately.
Oh, no.
But yeah, so typical morning with a little bit more oomph on a Monday.
I mean, yeah, when I first thought about doing this show and I was talking to the producers, I don't know what kind of took over me. I was like, yeah, I think Mondays will be perfect, but I take it back. I don't think they'll give me that perfect. So here we are.
That is perfect, to be honest with you. I mean, something's always going to happen. Something's always going to come up. It's just how you roll with that and just take that like breather and move forward, right?
Right, that's true. So I guess take us to what a typical Monday would be like for you and your business.
Oh, a typical Monday for me, apart from the cat and the vet today, that was not a typical Monday, but your typical Monday really starts at 6 a.m. And it starts with making sure that the kids are all packed and ready to go, with the 3 kids obviously off to school. And then usually with business, it's, again, I roll in at about 8:30 by the time the kids are off. And we start kind of doing a little bit of team building. So, obviously everyone kind of gets on, says good morning. And we talk about like what we're working on, what are our plans today, our goals, which ones we need to follow up with. So we kind of take down and break it down a little bit. Like if there's maybe 20 or 30 tasks, break it down into about a third of that and start kind of working our way down the list. So usually I'll do that morning 8:30 wake up call with them and do kind of figure out what they're planned. And then right before lunch, we do another follow up to see how they're progressing.
Right. So you're in constant contact with your team then?
Yes.
Right. Okay. So tell us a little bit about what you actually do. I know compliance can be a wide range of things. So why don't you dazzle us with the million things that I'm sure you and your team are capable of doing?
So there's not one thing that we do, and that's true. A lot of what we actually cater to are transportation companies and their needs. So we don't necessarily have, we're not a trucking company, but we're a consulting company that focuses on what they need on a day-to-day basis. So let's say maybe they have a problem with something, a permit or something that, a driver maybe needs to go to Alaska and needs specific documents. So we kind of go through little things that they need. We're also the typical company that says, okay, well, if someone's stuck, we tend to be that kind of like, green light that they call to say, hey, we need help. This is what we do. Majority of what we do, though, does focus on anti-terrorism. So we do deal with a lot of the anti-terrorism program that is in the US, and there's also a Canadian version of that. And that is actually one of our big focuses, is really trying to counteract the amount of fentanyl, or the amount of drugs that are coming through the borders right now. It's a big issue that we have right now, both in the Canadian US and also
Right.
obviously overseas, as well as Mexican and the US border as well.
Yeah, totally. I mean, that sounds super, super impressive. So, how did you get into this? Like, tell us a little bit about your journey.
Oof. So I got into this actually because of my dad. So my dad has always been an entrepreneur since I could remember, to be honest with you. And we he started his own trucking business back in, I think it was about 17. So it's a while ago.
Mm-hmm.
But he started his trucking business, and I kind of helped him get started. So that was kind of something that drove me towards helping him instead of kind of taking a back seat. And that was great. So I got to learn a little bits of odds and ends on how he kind of runs it,
Yeah.
and I got to kind of put my own spin into it. Obviously, um, as you have that experience, you start to kind of say, okay, well, maybe not this way, let's do this way. So entrepreneurship really started when I was about 17 with my dad. Um, I forgot the question.
No, no, you're on the right track. You're on the right track. That's how you started. That's
In terms
awesome.
of how
Yeah.
I got started in
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
consulting, that was something, obviously, with having the transportation with my dad, I ended up leaving, and I actually went back to school because my passion was actually to be a vet. So I went back to school and did some animal care, got into genetics. That was great. But then I had my first kid. And that's where my career in that field kind of ended, because I couldn't be a working mom and leave my kid at like 6 in the morning and not see my child until 6 or 7 p.m. when she was sleeping. So I ended up kind of, being on mat leave. And my dad actually told me that there was another consulting company that was looking for someone. So that's how
Right.
I really got into consulting. And then I kind of opened up my own, because I found that I couldn't guide people the way that I wanted to. I
Right.
was limited to what I could say. I was also limited on how I can help them. So really, transport specialist was created to guide those people. And where I needed help in the transportation industry, when I had the trucking with my dad, right? I didn't have that help. So that was really the goal, and what progressed me into the consulting.
Right, because I can imagine that the trucking industry is regulated by so many laws, so many requirements, so many,
They're ever changing.
um, yeah, and like safety standards and whatnot. I mean, every industry has a little bit of that, but I can only imagine the trucking industry is wild, especially in North America because we're so I don't know, we just drive everywhere. The distances are wild, and I mean, I guess in other continents as well. Where like in Europe, where all the borders are pretty much open, they would do a lot of that as well. So I just kind of wanted to not glaze over the fact that you are a woman in the trucking industry because as I was trying to do a little bit of research for today, I stumbled upon an article from ctvnews.ca, which is a Canadian news channel, and and it says that, I mean, it's not hard to guess, but obviously it's a male dominated industry, and the percentages of females that are in this industry are wildly low, something like between 14 to 17%, I think, and only I think 5% of them were drivers, and the rest of them would be kind of like in the management kind of back end area. So talk a little bit about your experience with that. I mean, you can give us, like real,
You're 100% correct. I
actual
mean,
numbers.
yeah, you're 100% correct. There's not many female drivers. I think in our amount of clients that we have, there's probably about four that we have. So really, I mean,
Wow.
that's less than 2%. Um, but the irony is that, and the thing that I love the most is, for every successful trucking company that has ever started, or not ever, but the majority of the trucking companies that have started, there's always that wife or that female in the background doing the administration, which I always find it really, really funny. We
It's
actually
because
just
we're
got
good
it.
at it. I don't
Yeah,
know. I don't care
it's
what anybody
multitasking.
says. It is. It's because we're good at handling so many things. What I have a problem with, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, what I have a problem with is that it's not appreciated or paid the way that it's supposed to. That's my own
I
take on it.
disagree.
Really?
I think it's
Oh, man.
appreciated, but I think the lack of appreciation is only noticed until after the fact. So when that mom or like that female leaves, it's that moment of like, okay, well, we need to hire somebody else. And it's trying to find, and that is a bigger issue that I have, is finding the right person, because the good ones are always taken, right? You
Right.
always find the really good people who can multitask. Those are always, they're already taken. So trying to kind of get them back on board, or trying to find them that fit again, is hard. But we had a new client of ours that just actually onboarded last week. It was great seeing her as a, again, her husband has the trucking business. They've got over 150 trucks as an example. And it was the wife who had the meeting with us. She wants to get into certain programs that we have in terms of the anti-terrorism. And I can see her in the background, and I can hear her kids in the background, talking. She's got two toddlers. They're not in school yet. And she's like, I'm so sorry, I'm going to be interrupting this meeting a lot. And you see the kids like running back and forth with like the toys and like the
Yeah.
like, snacks. And she's like trying to open up the snacks. And she's like, she apologized. And I'm like, no, you know what? It is so hard to be a working mom and have kids at home. Like
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that whole thing is two jobs in one,
We
right?
just
It's,
need to
one,
normalize it. I
yeah.
think we just need to normalize it because it's not going away, and we've talked about this many times, but you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. If you don't have that kind of relationship or, day-to-day contact with your kids, you're a bad mom. If you do that, then you're just a bad employee or business owner or whatever you want. So I think we just need to
Yeah.
normalize the fact that we all have responsibilities. And maybe once we
Yeah.
do that,
It's the
the dad,
judgment.
it
Yeah.
is, but
Yeah.
maybe once we do that, it'll also become more acceptable for the men who are, they are involved dads and they are great dads, that it's okay that a kid is going to run through their Zoom meeting. You know what I mean? Like, it's fine. You don't see it a lot with the men because it's kind of frowned upon. It's like, well, you're not being professional, right?
You're not
But
man enough, right? You're not man. But
right,
it's I
right.
hate those comments like that. I really do, because um how do you expect someone to really be in that position and feel you're belittling someone, and that's
Exactly.
one of the things that I always preach to even my kids, is just be kind. You don't know what someone's going through. There was a couple
Yeah.
years ago, my older daughter, I had gone on a field trip with her, and she had said, she was like pointing out the kids' names. She's like, this is this person, this is this person, this is this person. And it came up to one of the kids, and she's like, this is this person, he's a bully. And I'm like, whoa. I'm like, you can't say that without no. She's like, well, but he's really mean. I'm like, but you also don't know what he's going through at
Yeah.
home.
Yeah.
Like you can't judge someone, fine, maybe they're not very nice to you today, but
Mm-hmm.
you don't
Mm-hmm.
really know what is going on. You don't know what they're suffering with. You don't know. And that's one of the biggest things, is trying to just be patient with people, and just be kind, just be a good human.
Yeah, and it goes the same for your employees, your coworkers, your vendors, your clients. It's the same thing. I think we just need to give ourselves a little bit more grace, and I think we're just getting there only because of the pandemic, because that kind of blew the door wide open on what's going on at home because we were all working from home, right? So
Yeah.
just before we head into that, I'm sure you have some very interesting facts about what your business was like during that time. I just wanted to give a shout out to there's Suzanne here from Trio Bloom. They're all on Instagram, so I can't feature your comments on the screen, guys. But thank you so much for joining in. I see Bianca, I see Phil and Angela, and I see Leaders Lounge and Earth Elements and Brittany. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys. And if you guys have any questions, just remember that we are live and we are taking questions. Just leave us a comment wherever it is that you're watching and streaming. and we will try and get to all of the questions. Now, tell me, and I mean, I asked this question for all of my guests here. What was the pandemic like for your business? How did you, obviously, you didn't sink, you swam, so you made it out. But,
We grew. We grew.
yeah.
Which was nuts. So when we originally started, so I opened up the company back in 2018. So
Mm-hmm.
2018 was kind of our big red flag, or not red flag, but our green light to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to go on my own. So I ended up quitting in October. And then in November, we kind of went live. And and we kind of found out we were pregnant at the same time. So our third kid, finding out we were pregnant, and it was like, oh, this is great. This was not planned. Okay. All right, let's go. It was planned in terms of being pregnant, but it wasn't planned at that moment, right? Like we were planning,
Yeah.
earlier or later, but not that second.
He's the
Um,
sweetest ever for anybody listening. Let me tell you, you didn't have to plan that kid. The universe planned that kid for you. He is the sweetest kid ever.
he's something else. He's a character, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
loves everybody, and yeah, he's great.
He's
Um,
adorable.
when that happened, that was 2018. So 2019 rolled off. Obviously, I had the baby, in July, and then kids started going to school. So I had two kids in school in September, and then COVID hit. So COVID hit in obviously in March. So I had the baby, which was not even a year old. He ended up burning his hand during the process of the
Oh.
pandemic. So avoiding hospitals, having to go to the hospital every other day to change his bandages. And then the girls were JK and SK. So it was, and at the first part of COVID, or the first part of the pandemic, you weren't, the school structure wasn't the same. It was very much like, okay, here are the documents that you have to download for your child. These are the documents that you have to get them to, and then you have to take a picture of it. So you have to take a picture of it. You have to do
Yeah.
all these things. Here are videos. So I had to stream like YouTube videos on what they needed to watch. We also have a second language at home. So we were also doing Saturday school for them as well. So we had that going on Saturdays. And I think it was when my son was about, I'd say 8 or 9 months, that I was just like, I can't do this on my own. So my husband and I ended up staying home because I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I was going insane. It was difficult. I had two employees that I was training at the time. I had the baby, and I was nursing full time. And then I had the kids. So then he ended up staying home, which is really, really helpful. He also cooks, which is phenomenal. So
Amazing.
that's really helpful.
Shout out to your
Yeah,
husband.
he cooks better than me, and I have no shame in saying that. Um, but
That's
yeah,
awesome.
unless it's lasagna, that's me, so that's okay.
Okay.
But
Okay. So we're all
um,
coming to your house for lasagna then. Got it.
but in terms of uh, really, he had to step in and help because I couldn't do
Hmm.
it. Not only was I still kind of dealing with the mental aspect of being pregnant, or not being pregnant anymore, but nursing a child. So, and going through all those emotions. So I have a feeling at that moment I was still going through postpartum, and it was
Yeah.
hard. So it's mentally exhausting. You had your own business, trying to grow that, having the kids in school, technically, not really. And then also having the baby and still kind of dealing, everything kind of just like you put a band-aid on yourself, and you kind of just deal with them. And then where do you find that time to fix yourself
There's
and kind of
no there's no time. There's no time where you can allow yourself to do that. I can relate to that very much. What was it like to um like the moment in the day where you actually do get to, close your computer, the kids are somewhere or sleeping. What's like the first thing that goes through your mind?
when that happens.
Yeah, yeah, like when that happens.
I really don't stop. I mean, I wish I
Right.
did,
I was gonna say, I
but I
wanted you
don't.
to, what I expected you to say is I don't know, because literally my mind is in
No,
like a
I
million
mean,
places.
yeah,
So, yes, thank you. That's exactly what happens. You close the laptop, the kid's sleeping, and you're like, all right, do I get to chill? No, no, no,
yeah.
no. there's a kitchen to clean, or there's this to do, there's laundry, there's do I prep the stuff for tomorrow? And like my kid's not in school yet. He's in daycare, so I don't have to like pack lunches or anything, but that's wild with three kids. I don't know how you do it.
It's routine and it is
Yeah.
consistency. I find one of the biggest things and one of the challenges was trying to keep the household clean. And that's a big one,
Yeah.
because it's so easy to allow yourself or allow your kids to say, okay, just throw everything, whatever, and then we'll clean it up on Saturday. But then there goes your whole weekend.
Yeah.
So what we're finding that really works with us is little things. So maybe picking on like every Tuesdays and Thursdays as an example, just quickly wipe down the bathrooms. That's the big one. And then the clothes, we turn it into a game where they throw it down like kind of like the banister of the stairs, and they just chuck it downstairs to the main floor. So my laundry is on the main floor, which is
Mm-hmm.
great. So they chuck it down the stairs, and then they have to kind of bring it into the washing machine. So they
It's
do
like
help a lot.
it's like chaos with purpose. I love it. I'm
Well,
gonna
if
put
you
that in
turn it
the
into a game a little bit, it does
yeah.
help.
Yeah.
So they like vacuuming, so that's a bonus. We do have a little robot. Can I tell you that thing's a lifesaver though? It doesn't
Oh
do
yeah.
stairs, but it is a lifesaver. And then
Yeah.
obviously we have cats and dog, right? So that gets really, really busy. But I think the majority of the time is really just trying to be okay with not getting something done and don't being hard on yourself. That's a big one. And that's
Yeah.
something that I struggled with a lot last year, which was how come, and it's not me judging somebody else, but it's me saying, okay, well, how come I don't have my house as clean as that person? Or how come I can't get my stuff, in order just like that person? It was me being hard on myself. And I think that's the hardest part is being okay with the fact that your house isn't as clean as, Instagram, as an example. Right. That was the hardest thing, I think, of being able to let go a little bit and saying, okay, you know what? We'll get to it another day, maybe not
Yeah.
today. And that's okay.
And you know, for any parents listening, when they come across this, I have to tell you that when I was a kid, I never remembered if our house was at any point in disarray. Like our house was pretty clean, but I'm sure there were points in time where our house was in disarray. I never remember those times, but you know what I remember? I remember that my mom never stopped. I remember that my mom never watched TV with me. My mom, not that she didn't want to, she couldn't. That's what I remember as a kid. So every time you think that, this needs to be clean, this needs to be done, blah, 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 what are your kids doing? Are they asking you to play with them? Who cares? Just go play with them. You know what I mean? Who cares? You just worked an entire day. You're providing for them, you're providing for a household. Just go play with them. Who
But
cares?
it's
They're not going to
also
remember.
hard. It's hard. Like yesterday, I felt like my cup was empty, like literally.
Yeah.
And I pointed to my cup and it's like, I feel as empty as this cup because I had nothing left to give.
To give.
I woke up
Yes.
at 6 on Sunday because the cat was going mental in his little crate because unfortunately he's boxed in for another week,
Yeah.
because of his paw. So he's been taken off his collar. So I've been dealing with that. And then we had a showing. So our house is for sale. We had a showing. And so we had to make sure that everything was organized for obviously the showing, but the showing was at 12. So it was like literally nonstop from 6 in the morning. And then I finally got to sit down. It was 8:40. And I remember my older daughter came back downstairs and she's like, I just need to ask you a question. And I was just so done, like just really bloody done. Like I had nothing left to get. And I'm like, what do you need?
Yeah.
And it's just
Yeah.
like, and taking that step back and being like, you know what? She really needed me. And I couldn't give her 2 seconds because I had nothing left to give.
Yeah.
So this morning when I actually woke her up 10 minutes early and I apologized to her. I was like, I'm sorry, do you remember what you wanted to talk about today? But it's just like, it's trying to take that breather and be like, okay, you know what? They still need you. And it does suck sometimes. It really does when you don't have anything else
Mm-hmm.
and they still need you. And then obviously being the default parent, they always need you, right? It doesn't matter what, they need you all the time. But
Mm-hmm.
so what we've worked on and what's worked for our family is, having a special day. So once a month, one of the kids has a special day that they go and do an errand. I mean, mind you, it's not for me. The errand is for the house, right? Grocery shopping, whatever you need to do. but
Yeah.
that one kid goes with you and can address any questions that they have freely without any other kid around, right? So they
That's
don't
such
get
a good
judged or
idea.
whatever.
That's such a good idea. We've got a comment here from Suzanne that she sent in on Instagram. She says, "We need to remember what they say on an airplane. Take the mask and breathe in first, then help others." It's so
Hmm.
hard because I agree. I 100% agree, Suzanne. Thank you for that wonderful comment. But it's so hard because Suzanne's also a business owner, so I'm sure she knows everybody's looking at you for questions at work. Then the kids
Yeah.
are coming to you
Yeah.
like, yeah, like you're working together with your husband, but again, sometimes the default parent thing kind of gets in the way. And then you also have your own questions and your own things that you need to deal with, right? And a lot of the times that gets pushed back. So part of the reason why I thought of this concept for the show too was we're not only entrepreneurs and parents and friends and siblings and whatever else, but we're also individuals. So we
Yeah.
need to address like what, on the scale of life, what makes it worth it for you? Like what makes it balance it? Like in an ideal world, yes, there's so much more with entrepreneurship than it would be to be an employee. And if you don't think that, maybe you need to work somewhere else because maybe, you're overextending yourself for something that you don't even run. But that's a whole other, topic of discussion.
Yeah.
Labor laws, employment laws, who knows. But what makes it, what makes it all worth it? And I'm not talking about, yes, like you want to spend time with your family, you want to go on vacation, you want to raise your kids right, you want to provide for them, you don't want them to be in pain. Of course, that is undeniable for anybody. But what makes it worth it for you? Like Vanya, the individual, the superstar. What makes it for you?
I don't know if I'm a superstar, but thank
You are
you
a
for that one.
superstar. You are.
Um, in terms of business, what makes it worth it for me is knowing that when clients call us and they say, I don't know who else to turn to. I really need help. And my friend has given me this number. He said, you know what, call Vanya, call transport specialist, and they'll help you. And we're usually able to. Like that makes it worth it for me in
Right.
terms of the business.
But that's, yeah, that's one aspect,
That's one
right?
aspect. In terms
Yeah.
of the family part. So I struggle with this one, and this is something that I thought about. And one of the reasons why I opened up my own was really because I didn't have time for my kids. And ironically, I don't have that bloody time with my kids now. But
Do you know that meme? Wait, before you go on, do you know that meme or the million of, videos on social media right now of I wanted to stop working 9 to 5, so I became a
yeah,
business owner.
and
Now
I
I
work
work
9 to
twenty four
11. Yeah.
seven, and I just die every time because
Well,
I'm like, yeah. And I usually see those at 3 a.m. So yeah, I
we went to
totally get it.
Showcase over the weekend to pick up. We have kids' birthday parties, and they had like free stickers for my kids. And it was so funny because like every kid picked a sticker, and then my son grabbed a sticker and he's like, "This one's for you." And it literally says Hot Mom Mess Club. Like it literally was like it was just like Hot Mess Mom Club or something. It was just like
Amazing,
it couldn't have been more accurate. But what
amazing.
the reason why I started the consulting and why I had left where I was because I didn't have time. I was rushing to go pick up my kid. I didn't have time. She was always left behind. And I wanted to really be there for them when they had school projects or when they had like the field trips. This has probably been the first year or the first month of school that I haven't been able to take a lot of those field trips with them because there's two that go on the same damn field trip. So it's like, okay, I got to pick one and not pick the other. And then it's like that guilt trip because I have a middle child. So it's a little
Yeah,
hard to try to kind of pick, okay, well, I'll do it with this one and not with this one. Sometimes I can't. Sometimes I get to a point where I can't. I do try to make it up to them by having that special me day, like I said,
yeah.
on a weekend. But it is hard. All I can say is that, you know, I'm putting the effort in now, so then that will happen. And that will
Yeah.
happen because I have to make it happen and I want to. But the effort has to be put in now as we're growing.
Right. Right. So what about you? You missed the third aspect of just you. I need you to
That
tell me
is a
about
work in
you.
progress.
Okay, well
You know
before
what?
that, hold
That
on.
has done,
Before we
I've been better.
Okay,
I've been better.
but hold
But
on. Before we get into that, Before we get into that, I just want to do a quick station ID for anybody that's tuning in because we're already about halfway through here. So you are listening to Negotiating Happiness, and I am your host, Adriana Fierstro, and I am here today with Vania from Transport Specialists. And we are live on the United Public Radio Network and UFO Paranormal Radio Network at 105.3 and 107.7 FM in the beautiful city of New Orleans. I guess I should have. One thing that I forgot to address, I know we were talking about the pandemic and having the kids at home. Some of our American friends, depending on the state that you were in, if you didn't experience lockdowns, that meant that school was out. You couldn't, the kids had to go to school online. Maybe you were in those states that happened, but that's why it was significant, why everybody was all of a sudden all in, one room for
Oh,
24 hours a day.
Once they went live, like once
Yeah.
the second year into it, I
Yeah.
had literally the kids set up with their own desks, with their own laptops, with their own headsets. Everyone was on headsets, and
Yeah.
I had an employee with me at the time as well, who currently works with me. She's my basically my second hand, and
Yeah.
she had her daughter with us as well because her daughter also went to the same school, so that was
Yeah.
great. But we had it set up where like we literally had to take lunch with them. So then that way it was, or that lunchtime was our time. So we kind of took shifts, but
Yeah.
it was hard. So
That was a benefit
yeah,
though too. So as much as it was hard, it was great because you and your employee were able to modify your business schedule to fit around your family as well, right? So
we
that
didn't have a
takes
choice.
dedication. You didn't have a choice.
We didn't have
But
a
you know what's
choice.
funny? Again, not to knock on the other parents, but there's always like it feels like moms never have a choice. No matter what they do, they never have a choice. The dads sometimes do. And again, that doesn't mean that they don't, make up for it in other ways because a lot of them do, right? But it's just funny how we're put in a situation and we're like, fine, we'll just change the landscape of what it means to be in a professional business. And we're doing that. We're doing that, right? And that's why when I hear all the Gen Zers with their 4-day weeks. And I'm just like, look, I know you make fun of millennials online and you might not like that I still like to part my hair sideways or you don't know what a freaking cassette is. However, I support you. You want to make that 4-day week as a business owner, I still support you. I think it's great. So we are changing the landscape
Yes.
of what work means, which is amazing.
I
So
will say one thing about Gen Z that I think
yeah,
is phenomenal. And it is the way that the parenting style has changed quite a bit. I
yeah,
find that as millennials, it's still very much a role of one person, and then there's like that default parent. But I
yeah,
find with the Gen Zs now, and I appreciate that, and I absolutely love it. It is more of very much more of a partnership. I find it more so.
which is
Um,
great.
yeah,
Great. Like, please lay
100%.
off of us with our, fashion styles because let me tell you, go in store right now. Those cargo pants, where do you
No, they're
think you
coming
got them
back.
from? Where do you think you got them from? Like, lay us off with the fashion thing. But yeah, no, kudos to you guys for pushing that through. But anyway, that was kind of a segue into the whole why that was difficult and if people were wondering why your kids were at home. But let's go back to what makes this worth it for you. Like, I want you to tell me, like, I had a guest one time tell me that it was made it worth it for her because she could arrange her schedule so she could go to the gym at 5 a.m. To me, that sounds like hell. To her, that was heaven. So, like, I wanna know the details.
I really like, I mean, really what makes it worth it for me is being able to, it is making sure that I can take care of the kids at the same time, but it's, it really isn't about that. It really is about helping people. And I really do like that. And I like the fact that I can actually say, hey, this is what you need to do. That makes it really worth it for me. It also, the fact that our team, can I shout out to our team because our team we're all women, which is phenomenal. And the fact that all these team, players or these, our team, oh my God, our team dynamic is all women. We also cater around and we're making it flexible to an extent, obviously, about, being able to take your kids somewhere or being able to go to a doctor's appointment, being able to pick up your kids from work or from school or whatever it is that you need to pick them up from. And I do value that. And that's something that I struggled, like I said, being on the other side of as an employee, not being able to have that flexibility of even, half an hour,
Yeah.
extra to go pick up my child. And I was getting yelled at. I don't need
Yeah.
that. We don't need that hostility. And that's the frustrating part. But for me, what really makes it worth it is really helping people, to be honest with you. That fulfills my soul. It really does. Now,
Yeah.
what is going to fix me is a different topic. And that, I think, that is for everybody. That is a work in progress. It doesn't matter, who you are. Everyone always has to work on something, or everyone has to, or feels like they need to work on something. That is everyone's, goal is different. Everyone's goal is different, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So
It's
my
true.
goal this year is to work on myself. I'm working on it, but it is a work in progress every year, right?
Like, are we talking about time off? Are we talking about health? What are we talking about?
I really need to take a vacation this year. I
Ooh.
really need to take a week off and just be. I don't care if that week means I'm just like, starfished on, I don't know, sand or in front of a TV. I don't care. Like, to me, it just really means like just quiet.
That's so funny. Well, I'm your girl. Like, hit me up. I
I'll
will
let you
plan
know
for
if I'm
you
going.
for free. That's what gets me my dopamine hits, just planning travel. That sounds good. What if you were challenged to, so today is January 29th, which feels
Mhm.
like the 49th month of January.
It's been crazy.
Um, yeah, so 29th of January, what if somebody said to you, gave you the challenge of, Vanya, look at your schedule and plan all of your vacation time right now for the year? What would you say?
I think
I
that's
can,
doable. I
yeah,
think I think if I think so with me, I do really well with challenges. So I like that stuff.
yeah.
Um,
But okay,
but
so
I
for the
know
record, for anybody that doesn't own a business or works in a small business like this is like anxiety inducing because you're
it
literally
is.
taking yourself away from the day-to-day operations, and the fact that you can say I have a team that can still work while I'm away is a huge milestone. So I just wanted to point that out to
And
people.
I
So
know I
you,
can. I know our team
yeah,
can. It's just
yeah.
being able to, I don't micromanage, but being able to actually put it down is being able to say I'm going to take a vacation or I want to take a vacation is still very much not as concrete as actually writing it down, if that makes any sense.
Exactly, but that's why I'm saying you got to block it off. You got to do it now.
It makes sense, but then the reality of that is like, so I do see both sides. Blocking it off means that okay, it's set in stone, it's there. That also means that I can work my schedule around that time and saying, no, 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 I've already got something planned that day. So logically, that makes perfect sense to plan it ahead. But then part of me is still kind of like, I don't know if I can do it.
Listen, that anxiety is never going away. So, I don't know. Everybody I talk to is the same. So I'm not the expert. I'm just the messenger, right? So
Have
don't
you
shoot
marked
the
down then on your
messenger.
calendar what vacation days?
Vanya, I am taking off almost 3 weeks.
Are
From
you
May
really?
to June. I did it. I
Phenomenal.
did it this year, a couple of days ago, a week ago. I don't know. I don't know what came over me. I went over to my friend and I was like, "We are doing this." And she's also a very stressed out, overworked, lawyer, who is a partner. So she's got all of that responsibility as well. And she's like, "I don't care where we go. What do I throw money at? Let's just do it." And I understand that's a very privileged thing to like have
Right.
to be able to do, and I'm very grateful for it. But I last year worked through weekends,
Mhm.
holidays, like you name it, I worked through it. And it's not just for comedic effect when I say that I'm up at 3 a.m. working. I
Mhm.
am. Okay. So I earned
I
this,
find that
but I did it. I did it.
I find that I used to be able to clock off when the kids were back from home, like back from school at 3:30. I
Yeah.
would clock off last year. But this year it's just been such a whirlwind. We've been getting busier and busier. And I find that
Yeah.
I'm as much as I'm clocking off at 5:30, I'm not really clocking off at 5:30. So I'm staying
Yeah.
here until 6. And then 6 turns into, fine, we have dinner, whatever, put the kids to bed, typical.
Yeah.
And then I'm back on checking my emails. Like that
Yeah.
email, I think you had sent me when it was like 11:30 at night, and I was like, "Do-do-do-do." Like I responded right away, and it's like I need to stop that again. That is one of the
Yeah.
goals. Is really just saying, okay, you know what? I'm done for the day. That's my
Yeah.
time. See you later. We'll deal with it tomorrow. I'm not putting out
That's a
emergency fire.
challenge. That's a
It is
challenge, though.
hard, but I was able to
Yeah.
do it last year. So,
Mm-hmm.
with an experienced team now that I have from last year, they're more experienced. I should be able to also do it this year. But I
Yeah.
find that it's just been so busy and it's like I can't get through it all. And
I
it's
know.
being able, okay, well, it's just the domino effect of like being building up now and then tomorrow it's going to be more and then it's going to be just like constant. But again, it's honestly, I have to start delegating that a little bit better. That's something that I have to work on this year.
Yeah.
Um, Also blocking off that vacation time as much as I want to do that, it then means that I need to actually.
But did you know? Okay, but wait, let's get technical and nerdy for a second here. But did you know there are 5 types of time blocking that you can do with your calendar?
I did not.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I'm going to send you a thing that I use. We used this in our retreat that we ran last year. And we also do this exercise called um, automate, delegate, keep, and delete. And the goal, you win the game if you have like as close as possible to zero in the keep pile because you
Hmm.
are the owner. So like stop doing all of the work. You
Hmm.
need to start acting like more of the owner, and that's not some ego thing. That's a you need to free up time to
A
do
thousand
development
percent.
and growth, not doing the actual day-to-day things. So we do that with all of these wonderful, fantastic, successful business owners, and they still have problems identifying some of the things that need to move from column to column. And that's not because they're lacking in skills. That's because you need to do this exercise over and over and over. You know how like they tell you these like business concept of build, right? First stage,
Mhm.
grow, and scale. There is so much more growing after that. You cannot
Yeah.
convince me otherwise. So even if you go through those stages, I feel like you then go back to stage 2, grow again, then scale again, grow again, then it's cyclical, right?
So now
So
we're on the growing again. So that's where we're
yeah,
at again. We went back
yeah.
and we're going back.
So
But um, I feel like with that being said, in terms of delegating, you're right. Like I find that with me, especially now, because we are growing, it's bottlenecking.
yeah,
And that's something that I have been delegating, but in order to, it's kind of that thing where it's like that guilt, where as a business owner, I don't like being called the boss. I prefer being more of a leader or a team player. And that's why I always say like transport specialists is a group of specialists that work in our field because it really is a team effort. But I do find that, especially for me to be able to start scaling and growing, I have to start kind of taking that step back. And you're right, 100%. I have to delegate more and be
yeah.
able to say, okay, you know what, this has to kind of move forward in order for me to get to the next step. And that's the one thing that I have been working on this year. But it is hard to say, okay, you know what, at what point is it okay to put on so much on that person? And that's something that I need to be able to say if that person needs a little bit more help, they should be able to reach out to me and say, okay, I need help or I'm behind on whatever. Um, that's something that we're working on, right?
But
But
that's
it's hard.
that comes with being accessible and a good leader, right? So that's never going to go away. I think you're always going to be needed, right? And you're right, it's about finding that balance and finding the time to be able to do it and organizing it into your day-to-day thing, you calendar. But it's and people don't know, but you're also not speaking as somebody who does everything manually. You're very tech inclined. You're very much looking for the next solution, which is great to be as a business. So even having those resources and those setups, it is still hard. I don't want anyone to
Yeah.
think that it just gets magically easier. It doesn't. That's why you're back in the growing stage. So those kinds of exercises that I had just mentioned, those need to be done every time you're back in that growing stage because something has changed fundamentally with your business, regardless if it looks the same, if you've got the same website, if you have the same services or whatnot. Your team changes, your processes change internally, the way you collect money, the way you ask for money, the way your clients approach you. Like everything is always a constant rotating, wheel of wheels. Like it never stops, right? So it's really great to talk to business owners who are very much aware of that. And it's also really nice to hear that even though you have a pretty large team for a small business, well, when I'm talking comparing it to myself, right? That work for you full time. So with that being said, of course you're always going to have to be available to
That's
them. Of
only
course you're
been
always going to have to mentor them and.
like we were at 2 for about 3 years, and then we grew to 7 in just the last year. So it has
Amazing.
been nuts. But it's funny because it's kind of like all of that did come from my end because I started taking little pieces off of me, right? Like, and I always like it's like a piece of meat, right? And I'm like, take the leg off, take the arm off. Okay, that person's doing that. It's the branch of a different department. So everything basically started with I always like to say it's like, we're the tree trunk, and then you start
Yeah.
kind of branching different
Yeah.
departments off. But it is bloody hard to delegate, especially when you know that there's going to be mistakes, and it's okay to make mistakes. Mistakes have to happen.
Yeah.
It's no different than a child learning how to walk. They have to learn how to crawl, and then they have to start taking those steps, and they're going to fall, right? But those mistakes have to happen in order for an employee to say, okay, I know what to do next. How do we fix that mistake happening? But it's allowing and being able to allow that mistake to happen. And depending on what the client is, some clients are more okay with it. Some of them are like, no, man, you can't do this. Like, this is bad. So, we're pretty good. We have a really good, like I said, our client base is phenomenal. And that's one of the things that I've always said. If a client is ever mistreating any of our employees, then they're gone. Like,
Yeah.
no one at all deserves to be treated or mistreated wrongfully, especially when we're all human.
Yeah. Totally. Totally agree. And I'm sure that your staff appreciate that. Um, if you were to give a piece of advice to somebody that is just starting out in the industry, what would you tell them?
In terms of transportation,
Mm-hmm.
your overhead. So really, that's a big one. Know how
Mm-hmm.
much things are going to cost. Things like your truck payments, your fuel, knowing how much your trailer is going to cost, how much that's going to cost in insurance, knowing where you want to run. That's a big one. It really is really hard to start in transportation. One of the requirements, especially here in Canada, is having the experience. But experience does not give you everything. Experience just gives you experience on how to drive a truck. It doesn't
Right.
necessarily give you experience on how to get that freight. And
Right.
that freight right now, especially in transportation in the last year, it's been really, really bad. It's been really, really down.
Mm-hmm.
So you have a lot of new ventures that are coming in that are underquoting each other. And that's the tough
Agree.
part, especially now, because really, realistically, if you don't know how much you can run your truck for and you're running it, for less than nothing, you're running on fumes. They're going to be out of business within 6 months. And that's the tough part is trying to help someone who will take that, that advice and really kind of put the effort into figuring out what their costs are. And then you've got those that, automatically don't have the slightest idea on how to run a trucking business, and they're adding 5 trucks. So we try to tell them what not to do or
Mm-hmm.
how to fail. But I mean, realistically, if you've got your mindset, you're going to do it, whether you're listening to advice or not.
Right. Right. Well, that's very good advice, right? Going for your overhead. If you had to do so, now think about your business. If you had to start all over again, would you do anything different and why?
Yeah, I wouldn't have kids with me if I was doing that.
Okay,
Anyways.
that's not an option. That is not an
Well,
option.
you know what? Um, no, I wouldn't. I think, and I've always believed that things happen the way that they need to happen. If I would have made it all over again, I think it would have happened the same way, even if I didn't want it to. Um,
Right.
I don't think I've done anything that has made an impact because I'm a type of person that I don't jump. I very hesitatively kind of look at something, and then I write my notes down of like, okay, is this the right way to do it?
Yeah.
I try not to. Um, yeah, I don't take that bait very easily. I kind of just, I'm very hesitated when I make or calculated steps, I guess you can say. I
Yeah.
wouldn't make anything differently. I think if I had to, I would probably, I wouldn't do anything different. There's nothing I could have done. I honestly, I don't think so.
I think you're saying that too because you're the type of, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think you're the type of person who also understands what it means to fail and what you can get out
Mhm.
of failure because that's inevitable. Whatever you do, however successful you are, if you let failure take you down, you're not going to be successful. So that's how I know that you're not that kind of person, right? So, how do you
There's two
deal with
quotes
failure?
that there's
How do
two
you deal
quotes
with,
that
yeah?
I always go back to, which is let them and it is what it is.
Right.
So let them is like if someone's like I tell this to my kids all the time. Someone's being mean to you or maybe being mean to somebody else and you want to jump in, like you can try to assess the situation and say, you know what, I'm not going to deal with this. And if you walk away. And if they want to act the fool, then let them. Let
Right.
them do that. Let them do whatever they need to do. You don't have to jump in. So if they've made a mistake, the mistake has to be, it's let them. They have to make that mistake because if you're over on top of them always teaching them how to do something and not let them build that forward, then they're never going to make that mistake and then they feel
Right.
guilty for failing. You
Right.
have to start building those blocks. And the other one is it is what it is. Like the way that it happens is how it has to happen no matter what. We went through turmoil the last 2 years have been pretty chaotic here, with life in general and just things breaking or just it
Yeah.
happens. But
Yeah.
if you dwell on it and you just kind of let it take over, you start to forget that everybody else also has to go through things. There's the quote that's like, you know how everyone always says, oh, we're in the same boat. We're not. We're in the same sea in a different kind of boat. So some people are in a yacht, some people are in a canoe, some people don't have a boat,
I'm in a
but we're all in
dinky.
the same
A dinky
sea.
that's like,
Yeah,
just
like
keep
with a
trying to
little
like
hole in
take
it,
the
and you're
water
like
out.
pulling the water. Yeah,
Yeah. Just keep going. It's fine. It's fine. You'll
yeah.
be fine. Yeah. That's a really good quote. And that's a really good way to look at it. And if you don't look at it that way, then you're not you're not learning from entrepreneurship. You're just going through the motions at that point. So that's really good to and and it's not I love talking to I guess business owners, entrepreneurs that don't have a very typical like here's a bunch of capital that you should invest. See how you're going to open up a business. I like talking to the people who just went, I have a computer and I've got a
Mhm.
bunch of ideas. Let's make them happen, right? That's what's so interesting to me. Not that the other types of businesses aren't, but they usually end up being like the huge corporations or the chains, the whatever else, right? It's the small
But they all
businesses.
started the same way. They all started with
Well,
an idea.
some did not. Some just right off the bat had the capital and did it, right? We are not those people.
Fair enough.
We are not those people, right? So we are the people that have a good idea and maybe have some money that can, you can invest in there. We had to make different decisions regarding resources. And I see this talking to clients all the time. It's like, okay, you keep saying that you can't invest in this and you can't invest in that because you're mismanaging your resources. Even if you have, only 2% of what you make, that 2% needs to go where it counts most, right? Whereas other people don't have that problem. They're like, oh, our we need to increase our marketing budget, no problem,
What
right?
was it?
that's
What was it
that's
a
not
couple
us.
weeks ago that you were like, and I was telling you, I'm like, this doesn't work for us. Like, we'd have to change our process around. And you made a comment, and you're like, so what's stopping you from changing your process?
Right.
And I literally ghosted. I didn't even answer
You
that
didn't
question.
respond, I
I
know, and I
did
was like,
not.
oh, was that a little too
And I was
much? I
like,
don't know.
I know I did, but I was just like, and I was like, I sat there and I was like, that's a freaking point. Like, there's nothing stopping us from our process,
Right.
but there is. And it's kind of like, okay, at what point, okay, I got it, we have to start kind of working on an all-inclusive CRM. That's our next step that, we've
Mm-hmm.
talked about.
Mm-hmm.
But trying to take that next step is like, okay, now I've got to spend more time that is not your 9 to 5 or 8:30 to 5:30 time to
Yeah.
now figure out what that step is going to be. And it's
Yeah.
like at that moment when you're like, so what's stopping you? I'm like, I don't have time to do this right now.
Yeah.
I'm not dealing
Yeah.
with it.
I know. And I say that with the utmost like love, compassion, and understanding because I get it. I know that. It's just I'm the outside person, right? You are the inside person. You're always going to be the inside person. And this is why I love making these kinds of connections and networking and talking to other business owners and sharing ideas because sometimes people will be able to take you out of your own head. I've been there where people are just like, so why don't you just do it? I'm like, well, and I keep making excuses. And until I do it, then I'm like, why the heck did it take me 2 years to do this when I was able to like do it in a week, right? So it's helpful sometimes to have those conversations, even though they're, they bring up uncomfortable things. Though that's what
They need
growth
to happen.
is.
Yeah.
No, you can't grow if you're comfortable. You're not growing. Growth
Yeah.
comes with
You're stale.
uncomfortable things, right? So, well, we've got 3 minutes left here, so obviously the hour flew by. I
It's funny
is
because you were asking me, like, I was looking at how long this was going to take, and I was like, what are we going to fit into a full hour in here? And I'm like panicking.
Please, please. We could talk forever. And
Yeah.
also, uh, every guest says that, or they're like, "I'm nervous." Why are you nervous? You're just talking to me. You're okay. It's funny how that happens. But we have 2 minutes left. I just want to ask you, just it could be whatever you can, whatever you want to say. But what makes you happy?
Knowing that my it does revolve around business. It really does. Like I'm happy doing what I do now. I really that fulfills me.
It's a good
But knowing
indicator.
that I have employees that are women that are able to also cater to their needs when I struggled as someone in business on the employee side, that fulfills me. But also knowing that I will have that time and I will make that time. I have to make that time for my kids a lot more. Knowing that I don't have to put them in before school or after care, knowing that, I can have, they can make dinner with me or like help me, at home. Like Kira, sorry, my oldest was putting she was doing Pure Later labels, like FedEx labels, and she was excited for it. And I don't force my kids to work whatsoever, but I mean, I will
It's
teach them
fine.
how to help, right? If they want
It's
to help,
fine.
I
It's
do
called
kind of teach them.
transferable skills from a young age. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
fine.
she's a little entrepreneur herself, which is
Mm-hmm.
phenomenal. She created uh, a rescue group in at school, which is great. But she's
Amazing.
delegate. I've taught her how to delegate. I just wish I could take that own advice, but I did teach her how to delegate into different groups. And so, like, I helped her kind of do, okay, what if you do this, right? But I kind of let her do her own thing and lead her own thing, kind of going through. But I mean, she's 10 and she's rocking it, so I'm super happy
Which is
with that.
super important. It's important that you're letting her, make those decisions. It's
Well,
getting her
she's
to
got to make
think,
her own mistakes, right?
but it's getting her to think in a way that maybe most kids her age aren't thinking, right?
Yeah,
So good for you.
she's doing a speech. They have to do a speech at school right now, and she picked the topic, which I thought was great. How not to fail or how not to get fired in your work, in your job. And I was just like, this is phenomenal. So, I mean, we'll see what that turns out to be, but
I love
yeah,
it.
I'll let you
I
listen
love
to
it.
it as soon as I get it. But
Yes, you have to. Well, thank you so much for coming on and thank you for, sharing your wisdom and your experience. You need to come back on and you need to tell us about what's happening in your ever evolving world of trucking
I'd
because
love
I think
to.
it's super, super interesting, especially as a local and a mom and a friend and whatnot. But yes, thank you so much, and thank you to everybody that tuned in. We really appreciate you. Please make sure to like and follow and subscribe so that we can keep making this kind of content and bring you continue to bring you wonderful, wonderful people that can teach you things. So thank you to the United Public Radio Network and UFO Paranormal Radio Network. We will have a guest next week as well, so tune in for that. And if you want to catch some of our other episodes, go ahead and find us on SoundCloud, YouTube, you name it, we're on it. Thanks again so much, and we will see you next week.